Welcome back. You're live with Sunrise here on ETV. Now, although there are no official figures, it is estimated that up to a staggering 6 million South Africans suffer from diabetes, and between 5 to 10% of these have type 1 diabetes, which is characterized by an almost total lack of insulin production. One of Europe's leading holistic practitioners on diabetes and cholesterol, Dr. Geert Verhelst, is currently in South Africa to share the latest research on nutrition and lifestyle-based approaches to prevent and to treat diabetes. Doctor, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Before we get into the reason why you were here, looking at your life as it stands at the moment, you are an incredibly dynamic person living on a number of different levels. What drives you? What drives you into the holistic realm? What has crafted or brought your career to the point that it has?
Well, I've always been very interested in a natural approach to cure diseases or to control diseases. And one of the main points that we almost always forget is that nutrition is very important. So I advocate a good nutrition, a good healthy nutrition, and I start from it. That's the base. And then later on you can take medicines or other therapies.
If we had to, and I'm going to ask you to put your head on a block, if you had to weigh up effectiveness of health, of natural, healthy foods feeding into that healthy system as opposed to medicinal, to drugs being fed into the healthy system, which is more effective?
I would say the combination is perfect, but I think you would have to start with good nutrition. And then, if that doesn't work out fine, then you can get some medication. But that's the start, I think.
Now, you've come to South Africa, obviously, to share this unique perspective or this growing perspective on treatment of diabetes and cholesterol. What does the South African market present? I know we love our red meat here. We are very healthy eaters. How healthy is the South African market?
Well, if you would look at the original food of South Africa, I think it would be fine. Simple, basic, unprocessed food, lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, moderately using meat and so on. That's a good start. But if you look at the supermarkets nowadays, well, we have so much refined food, processed food, sugared food, soft drinks, and that's where we have to cut down, I think.
Okay, now we look at in the region of 6 million, and we're saying this is just an estimate, 6 million South Africans suffering from diabetes, the majority of which is type 2. Just explain to us the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
Well, it's a big difference. Type 1 diabetes, you get it as a child or as an adolescent or as a young adult. And in type 1 diabetes, you have really a destruction of the beta cells of the pancreas, and these cells produce insulin. So since you have no insulin or hardly any insulin, the blood sugar rises. And at this point, type 1 diabetes has to be treated by insulin. Type 2 diabetes is a completely other story. There it's mainly due to lifestyle reasons, also some hereditary factors, but mainly lifestyle. And normally type 2 diabetes develops later on in life. It was called maturity onset diabetes. But nowadays we see it even at a younger age, so we stick to the name type 2 diabetes. But here you cannot talk about a complete destruction of the beta cells of the pancreas. So certainly in the beginning there is no need for insulin therapy, and that's where you start with a healthy nutrition.
Make the body strong so that it can fight for itself.
Yes.
Now, metabolic syndrome is a term that seems to be surfacing more and more. And looking at, sort of from a layman's perspective, it looks like almost a name for stress, for modern living.
Well, it's more complicated than that, and it's a very tricky question. But the metabolic syndrome is like a cluster or a group of risk factors, and one of them is the elevated blood sugar level. And if you have this cluster of factors that's called metabolic syndrome, then a medical doctor can say, hey, you're prone to have cardiovascular diseases, or you're prone to develop type 2 diabetes. So it's like a warning sign.
How do we treat it? Where do we start? Now, we want to start reconstructing our diet to ensure that we're giving our body the best possible building blocks. Where do we start?
Well, in fact, if we're talking for a healthier lifestyle, there are 3 things we have to do. We have to stop our sedentary way of life, we have to get active, we have to exercise, that's the first thing. The second thing, which is very important too, is to lose weight when you're obese, because there's a big link between obesity and type 2 diabetes. And the third thing is a healthy nutrition. So that's the triad to start with.
Now, you obviously have a position at the OTC Pharma International. How much of this type of thinking is going into the big industrial pharmaceutical companies' strategy at the moment? Are we seeing a global shift towards a more holistic approach to treating diabetes?
This firm is doing that because they say, first thing you have to do is change your lifestyle. And one of the things we have to change is nutrition. And this company is selling food supplements. Supplements are no medicines, but they can be like a special diet measure with an additional value to obtain your goal.
And of course, within an African or a South African context, those sorts of food supplements can be used incredibly. We've got nations, literally entire nations, that are sick or malnourished, that we need to be finding creative solutions to treating our health.
Yes, but there is a change in lifestyle that has come first. Also, if needed, you have to prescribe medicines. But some food supplements can really have an additional value if scientific research has proven that they have.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and all the best of luck with your seminars. I know they will be running up until the 26th of August, and yeah, enjoy your time in South Africa.
Thank you very much.
That was Dr. Geert Verhelst, leading holistic practitioner. For information on those seminars, you can visit www.otcpharma.co.za. That's otcpharma.co.za. Or you can call 011 469 1642. That's 011, Johannesburg area code 469 1642. Again, thanking the doctor for joining us this morning.
We live